Hello and welcome to another open source workplace video. I'm very happy to welcome back Cristina Herrera. But if this is your first time coming across the channel, please do subscribe, like the videos, hit that notification bell so you're alerted to all upcoming videos. Cristina, how are you doing? It's been a little while since we've chatted.
Hi, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Really good to see you. So what have you been up to? I hear you've been busy.
Yeah, I've been really busy. I have just launched my consulting website, CristinaHerreraConsulting.com. It's been an incredible journey. It's been also very challenging, very nerve-wracking, very exciting. But now that the website is officially launched, the support has been tremendous. A lot of people are interested in finding out what I'm doing, how we can work together. But I've also had a lot of students reaching out to try and intern with me and to find out how I got into what I'm doing, which is really actually very unconventional. So it's really opened the door for not only for myself, but also for these young students who I'm also now mentoring.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. I think that's fantastic. I know I had interns through these last few months in my day job, and now they're in a position where a lot of people are not obviously hiring. They're taking time off. But I think mentoring it and getting internships, I think, is fantastic. So well done, and I'm glad that you're doing that and be of service. And obviously, if there's anything an open source workplace can do to assist you, please let us know. We're happy to help where we can. So what we wanted to talk about today was obviously we've talked about corporate strategy, we've talked about change management, and what we want to talk about today is maybe some of the myths that people may perceive change management to be, or what it actually does.
This is one of my favorite topics, to be honest. It's actually one of the first conversations I have with all of my clients because the leadership level, the managerial level, even the staff level come on board with these assumptions and myths about A, what are we trying to accomplish? B, who am I and what am I trying to do? So yeah, let's get straight into it because there's a lot of information here. So I think one thing that I keep trying to drive when it comes to change management is the fact that change management, it's a practice that's rooted in science. And so when people say to me that change management is light and fluffy, I say, oh, not at all. It's hard, it's data driven, it's measurable, it impacts your bottom line. So some of the strategies and vehicles might be feel good, but there's a purpose behind that, right? And I don't think there's any other area of science that is called light and fluffy, but change management.
Maybe, but no,
Maybe,
I take your point. I take the point where
yeah,
the sentiment can be seen to be that, yes.
definitely. So when I get introduced sometimes with staff, there are some assumptions that are made there. I'm there to pull the wool over their eyes. I'm there to pour out the Kool-Aid. But no, that's not at all what that is. It should be the employees that are requesting a change manager, someone who will be dedicated to supporting them through the change. It's like what they say in sport about having a home advantage, right? The change manager wants the employees to have that home advantage because the employees are the ones that are going to live by this new way of working, whether it's a new space, tools, or technology. We want them to have that home advantage. So again, it's not about pulling the wool over your eyes. It's not about pouring out the Kool-Aid or drinking the Kool-Aid with you. It's really about being dedicated to your success as an employee through the change that is happening in the organization.
So help me connect the change management process that takes the employees with the corporate strategy that comes down. How do you connect those two?
So that's a great question. So the strategies that we use in change management on a particular project ultimately have to be aligned to A, what are we trying to accomplish? And B, the reality of the impact of that on the staff, on the employees, everyone from leadership, to the C-suite, to the mailroom or sub-consultant. When we determine what strategies that we want to use, we should always be tying it back to our corporate strategy and our overall change plan. It is easy sometimes to deviate or to run into a constraint or a blocker where we can't actually go ahead with a particular strategy, and we need to quickly think, what are we going to do instead? How else can we accomplish this? And that is the point in time where we can lose our way. So this is where we want to go back to our corporate strategy, thinking about what is it that as an organization we're trying to accomplish? What is it that we stand for? What are our values? And what does this mean for our change strategy and the way that we roll out the change?
Thank you. I know you were going through your myths, so I apologize for intersecting, but I was just curious as to how you
No,
kind of
this is
consider it.
great. This is great. Keep asking the questions, because if you're thinking it or if you're questioning, other people are also questioning. So one of the other myths that I find is, consulting with clients is they'll say, oh, we don't really need to engage with our customers or our clients or our staff. We know what they need. And this is where I, take an opportunity to really push back. No one hires a change manager to be a yes man at the end of the day, or a yes woman. So this is where I need to push back. This is where the qualitative and quantitative data comes in. I always as well talk about my rule of thumb: for every one source of quantitative data, you should collect 2 sources of qualitative data. And again, there's no light and fluffy here. This is hard facts that we're driving. So, we need to make sure that everything we're doing is intentional and it has a purpose and it's backed up by the data, right? So there's no such thing as, I already know what they need. That doesn't exist. That won't fly. Assumptions. So if we speak a little bit about assumptions, I've worked with such incredible organizations across different industries, but for organizations that are a little bit more authoritarian in style, some of the things that I've heard is, people will just do what they're told, right? And again, as a change manager, it's my responsibility to not be a yes man and actually question, well, what if they don't? What's the financial risk of employees not understanding, pushing back, and not adopting the ways of working? And similarly, in those organizations, I have heard, if they don't like it, that means they're not aligned to what we believe and they can leave. And if that's the stance, okay, but my responsibility as a change manager is, well, what's the cost of rehiring? What's the cost of training and development? What's the cost of a bad Glassdoor review, or of that talented person going to your competitor, impacting morale or, the motivation of other employees?
Yeah, and on that, often people ask, what is the cost of replace an employee? The lost salary, the time down, the sort of the amount of work that has to get picked up by other people, then the retraining, the learning the job. Have you found a way to calculate that?
So it's a very great question. There are a lot of standard industry baselines that have been published on the internet. Organizations, well, I won't mention these specific organizations, but a lot of HR organizations have been doing a lot of research on that and publishing papers on that. So one of the myths, I don't know whether it's a myth or assumption, but there are some clients of mine who have said, well, we're not really people. We don't really know what to do or how to do it. We're not people. So I don't know whether we really need change management. I wouldn't even know where to start. And that's a really interesting one. To be honest, I took a step back and I thought, I was not expecting that.
What is people?
I honestly have got no idea. I just said you're
It's really
humans.
interesting. Yeah. No, that's yeah. I
Yeah,
wouldn't know how to interpret that either.
yeah, you're humans. You employ humans.
Right.
And I don't know. I completely separate to this conversation with a client, I have heard other people say, professionals in the engineering industry, they're very focused on their work, very task oriented, less, collaborative. And I even think those discussions are interesting. They're humans.
Yeah.
Everyone is people. it's a very interesting one. And I would like, I guess, to take this opportunity to say that we're all people. We all deserve an opportunity to learn and grow, but actually understand the process along the way, regardless of your industry.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the assumptions as well that I've experienced throughout my career is, project executives assuming that the internal HR and communications team have the capacity to support and drive change projects. So right now I'm advocating for those internal HR and comms teams because they have day jobs, and a lot of their day jobs are very reliant on a response. There's this relay. They send information out, they receive feedback, and it's part of their day job. So to add an additional layer on top of that is definitely putting strain on that department, and may actually impact the effectiveness and success of the change project.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, Christina, that whenever we're going through what we're going through before, we've never been through this before, right? There's so much change going on, and people must be asking themselves, I haven't done this before. I don't know how to do it. Am I doing it right? Or if I'm doing it right, am I really optimizing the opportunity here? And I'm sure people are sort of coming to you with that sort of mindset too.
Yes, absolutely. It's a difficult one because we do want to do more, right? And we want to expand, and we want to kind of spread our wings and not be pigeonholed. But I think I always tell people, question what you can do effectively, and what you need to do it effectively. It's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially in this uncertain time.
Yeah.
I mean, the more diversity of thought, the more creative we can become, the more innovative we can come. So bring people to the table.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's it's a tough one for internal teams to navigate, but I'm advocating for them.
That's great. That's great.
So with my experience within architecture and interior design and, the corporate real estate industry, one thing that I've experienced is this tendency to try and correlate square footage and headcount to the need for change management.
Hmm.
And that is a huge no-no.
So talk me through it. What does that mean?
Okay, so, on a workplace renovation or relocation project, the size of your floor plate, your square footage drives a lot of the costs and budgeting for services. So when you think about how much you want to spend on design, it's a certain dollar per square footage. It helps you drive your budget, and that is what is driving a lot of these budgetary conversations, is that square footage. But it's also really important to recognize that change management and the need for change management is based on impact, level of impact, right? So it's that degree of change between the current state and the future state and how we're going to get there. You could have a floor plate of, I don't know, say something ridiculous like 10 square feet to 1,000,000 square feet. They could actually require the same amount of change management intervention or completely unexpected levels of change management intervention.
Yeah, yeah. No, because the way I'll see it, it's change management. It's about reviewing processes and aligning that with the actual corporate strategy. And therefore, I do wonder, well, what has square footage got to do with it? I can understand people, because people are part of the process and the size of teams and the diversity of the teams. But yeah, square footage is an interesting one for me.
It is, and it was an interesting one for me. It really surprised me when I was engaging in that conversation, and it actually made me realize as well that I had assumed that everyone would understand how to price change management and the change management efforts, which is not the case.
Mm.
Um, One of the other, I guess, assumptions that I made is that everyone who are writing these RFPs, for example, that they understand that change management is a science and not a methodology. And I had that assumption. And what I want to say is, a particular methodology of rolling out change may not be appropriate for your current project, right? And so my belief is that all methodologies are wrong until you find the right one for you. And think about this as you develop your RFPs, because you could actually be disqualifying some phenomenal change managers from the process. And I assume that everyone knew this.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm actually running through my own head, actually, as you explained the the fact, the science, the methodology, because I would have assumed that, one of the reasons we turn to change management consultants is because they have frameworks, they have systems in place that allows them to evaluate an organization, the organizational needs, and
Mm-hmm.
apply the right framework to that situation. And that's how my head split. And maybe that's a wrong assumption, but that's sort of logically how I would determine or I would expect a change management consultant to engage with an organization. Is that right or wrong? And it's fine for you to say I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. To be honest, you're not wrong and you're not right, right? You've just said something really important. Change managers or change management professionals come to the table with models, methodologies, templates, understanding of a particular process and order. There is research out there that states that any change management initiative that is rolled out based on a particular methodology is going to be more successful. But that methodology does not need to be defined upfront. You just need to have one, but you need to
Mm,
determine what that is first. And your change manager is best placed to understand the needs of your organization, to understand the practicality of one methodology over another.
mm, mm. No, that's fascinating. There's so many things you have mentioned that it's sort of like, yeah, they're eye-opening for me, and I appreciate your willingness to share and open up and sort of speak to many because there are wrong assumptions from internal and also probably change management consultants too. So we're going to wrap it up there, Christina. I appreciate your time today, and we'll obviously come back and sort of divulge a little bit more because I know there's other things that we wanted to go into today, especially the power of language.
Mm.
And I definitely want to sort of unpack that a little bit with you. But look, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And it's always great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve.